We will bring up our assessor, Brent Goff, to do a presentation. Thank you, Brent. Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to visit with the board today and all the taxpayers out there. Thank you for doing what you do to keep the engine of Mesa County going with your tax dollars. In my office, I wanted to just let you know we're doing this work with 25 and a half people. And interestingly enough, 30 years ago, we had 29 people. So we're doing more with less. We continue to have more and more parcels, 88,000 of them. And we have, among the 25 people, we have 17 licensed or certified appraisers. So what's keeping us busy? New software and new legislation. So let's get into that just for a minute. Do I have about 45 minutes here? Okay.
Knock yourself out.
So we have a RFP, which is a request for proposal out there. We're evaluating the responses right now. We had 6 vendors that submitted bids. And the low bid was $836,000. The high bid was $2.7 million. Interestingly enough, the high bidder, all of their talent is out of Ecuador. So I think I'm going to dismiss them. I don't speak Spanish that well. So we're looking at those responses right now. I hope to be back up here at the podium January 28th to get your approval for new software. For those of you out in the public that tried to use our website last year, you might remember a few hiccups. For about 7 months, we couldn't do a good search on property, and that was crippling up the 911 response. People couldn't get their water meters at their new addresses. It created havoc. So comes to find out our software vendor is no longer selling their product. So we have to move on something. It's currently state-of-the-art 2005. So we need to move into something in the 21st century. That's it for the software. Legislation. We had a very interesting legislative year, beginning with some good news for seniors. How many seniors are out there? Nobody? Well, I'm getting there. This is the Senior Exemption Portability Bill, Senate Bill 24-111, provides a 2-year window for seniors to qualify if they move to a different address. What happened before is if you downsized into the condo, you lost your senior exemption. Now there's a 2-year window of opportunity to basically take that and move to the next property, which is going to be good for taxpayers. I don't know what will happen in 2 years with the legislature. If they decide to extend that, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The major property tax bill, Senate Bill 24B 1001, was a special session bill. And it basically was a compromise from the 2 property tax initiatives that were out there. For those of you that were going into the grocery store, people were having you sign signatures for Initiative 108 and Initiative 50. And what ended up happening just before the special session is that the governor got with the person that was running those 2 initiatives, and they had a deal that would be cut. And the deal was the Senate Bill 24B 1001. And that does a couple of things. It caps government growth at 5.25%. So all local governments, including Mesa County, will now be under that 5.25% cap. Even for the counties that had done a vote to debruce, this new cap is still going to be in place. Also, the unintended consequence of this bill would be, I call the Pandora's box of assessment rates. For those of you that have been around in Colorado for 20 years or more, you know that if your house, if the value inflated, the assessment rate used to drop to offset that increase. Well, that all got dashed on the rocks in 2020 when Gallagher got repealed. So when Gallagher got repealed in 2020, the assessment rate for houses was 7.15 and non-resi was 29%. But the Pandora's box with this Senate bill would be, for the first time in history, we have a separate assessment rate for schools versus all other local governments. And that all depends upon if the statewide growth exceeds 5%, then the assessment rate will change. So basically, we won't know the assessment rates until next December when we do that calculation statewide. So while Mesa County might grow in value by 10%, that really doesn't, that's not the whole mathematics of it. It's the whole state. They'll calculate the growth rate, figure out the assessment rate at that point. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions, Brent, but you really do make a very appealing case for property tax. And I think you've really explained it very well throughout this last year, which was pretty intense when it came to some of these conversations. And you've worked really well with the board and informing our public what's going on. And we really appreciate all your hard work. You had to do double time in a lot of cases until the legislature had figured out where they were going. And we really appreciate your office and your guys' efforts. So thank you so much.
Thank you, commissioners.
And I will add one thing. As I said on the tax commission this last year, you were a big benefit to me. Just throwing stuff your way, seeing if it was a good idea, a really bad idea, and you had a lot of good feedback. So appreciate it. You make the assessment process fun, believe it or not, and educational. So I appreciate you, Brent. You do a lot of good work in the community.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.